Now here is another case that doesn't fit in my screen, and you'll just have to wait for the B-roll to kick in and to be able to enjoy the beauty of this case. So today we're going to talk about Cooler Master HAF 700 Evo in white, and I paired it up with the Cooler Master Master Liquid Atmos 360 also in white. And since we're at the Cooler Master products, we have at the back Cooler Master V Platinum 1600 V2. So this was quite a shocker, first of all, and of course I did expect it to be big, but so much space inside, it's unbelievable. And it's not like what I said a couple of times already. It's not that the case is big and then you have loads of space, which is totally understandable, right? But there is a thing where you actually can expect that a big case can be done so badly that you don't have space in terms of bed positioning of everything, right? So in these terms, everything is done properly, except I have one small suggestion where I would do something, but that's totally irrelevant for anything. So let's start with this case. I mean, wow, so much toolless. I know that that sentence doesn't work together, but I just looked at the case and it popped right to my mind, toolless. So what you do to access the case, you have to remove the top panel, which you do have a thumb screw, but it's easily removable with your thumb. Logical, it's not a screw. You don't need a screwdriver, but there's that. And then you just slide off the top panel towards the back. Then you get the access towards these two panels. So you have tempered glass on the side panel and you have full steel plate, which has two openings with magnetic dust filters to get air if you decide to place a radiator here on the side. That's an option. Or for the power supply, of course. And first of all, it did look kind of, you know, you have loads of space here, but where's the power supply? So the power supply is in vertical position, which was kind of obvious, but I didn't expect it, and there's that. Now, mentioning toolless design and what does it actually do, the only thing, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but the only thing where you actually need screws is here to remove the top panel. So you remove the top panel with the dust filter and everything. It's fine mesh, it's not a dust filter. And then you can remove the top panel and access it, and giving you option to mount your radiator fans or whatever you decide on the top, basically on the side. But you don't have to do that. If you go with a 360 like I did, which is really funny to go with a 360 inside this case, but yeah, there's that. You don't need a screwdriver except for the main components. So what you get with this case is additional vertical bracket with the PCI Gen 4 riser, which is also in white since they wanted to pair it up with the case. Quite logical. The cable rerouting is outstanding because all the cables from the front I/O panels are nicely rerouted and you don't have to worry about it. Of course, you have loads of zip ties already inside the case, but that's not a problem. Now we have loads of plates, panels, fans, and all the other stuff. And of course, the fans are already pre-attached, so you don't have to use your screwdriver. But the panels, you have a front panel that is just easily removable with a click. For 90 degrees. You just have to remove it for 90 degrees and you just pop it out. The same thing happens with this bottom panel, which actually accommodates one SycleFlow 120 addressable RGB fan right here at the bottom. You do have to remove it because this is the only fan inside the case that comes disconnected. So yeah, I thought it was connected, but it isn't. You have to remove this plate, get access to the cables, so addressable RGB and PWM, untie them, push them through the rubber grommets and connect them to the controller at the back. Now, this video is going to be everywhere because I'm having so much information that this case is just, you know, you have to go through everything. So since I mentioned the SycleFlow 120 here, you have two at the back, two 120 at the back, and you have two SycleFlow 200 right in front. In front of those, so in the inner part of the chassis, so at the back basically, you have that additional compartment where you could, by a click, by 90 degrees, you can access, you get the possibility to mount your radiator or whatever you desire. So in terms of mounting the front radiator and stuff like that, you kind of get these two 200s blowing inside the radiator, and you're most likely gonna go with your 120s or 140 on the radiator as well. So you kind of get double intake, let's put it this way, through the radiator, right? But the cool thing is you can easily remove that bracket, and without that bracket you can't mount anything on the front. So there's that. That's the only position for the 200 millimeter fans. At the bottom, of course, you have these caddies, and I'll show you quickly. So you just move this, right? And you just pull out this caddy. You have these so much inside this case that it's unbelievable, and we'll get to the part of mounting and the actual amount of mounting SSDs and hard drives inside this case. And let me just show you. You place it like so, you twist the top notch, that's it, lever, notch, whatever. On the side we have a cool glass panel, and it really does look quite nice, gives it a bit of a difference. And if you remove it, you get access for the radiator mounting, and that's it when we're talking about the fans, when we're talking about the inner placement. With the case, as I stated, you get a vertical mount with the riser, and it's quite easy, straightforward to mount it. So you have this kind of huge lever that holds all the screws attached. You pull it, you get access to the PCI Express expansion slots. Then you basically remove the expansion brackets and place the vertical mount. That's it. You just put it in, you just close the latch that holds everything. That's it. No screwdriver needed at all. That's it. The only thing that you need to tie up is the PCI riser on the base plate and the GPU with 2 screws, depending on the GPU, of course. The 2 screws on the GPU. That's it. So basically, what are you using your screwdriver is for the main components. But here's the catch. For the power supply, you don't even need a screwdriver, because you have 2 thumb screws and 2 standoffs that go slightly inside the hole of the power supply to hold it steady, and 2 thumb screws in diagonal position to lock it in position. That's it. Again, I'm quite fascinated. We have compatibility when we're talking about the motherboards eATX, ATX, micro ATX, and iATX on the main here position. And we have loads of rubber grommets. So you have here 4, depending on the motherboard, so ATX or eATX. You have 2 on top. You have loads at the bottom as well. And this is quite cool because it gives you an option to reroute the cables quite nicely at the back, where you have 2 kind of latches that just pop in with a click, and you can reroute the cables there. Now, since I'm at the back, we can discuss something else. There's a hub, and there is additional additional controller for addressable RGB and PWM. When you install their software to control those lights and fan speeds and everything, I mean, we'll go through that as well. It acts as a controller that you get with Atmos as well. So it has the same function, it just skid down, so just only PCB attached to the case, that's it. Everything is pre-connected, so you don't have to worry. The only thing that you need to connect when we're talking about the case is the bottom SickleFlow 120. The front screen is also connected with the same cable, so you have to connect USB 2.0 to your motherboard, and that's basically it. You have to connect only one PWM header to your motherboard, and that's all there is to it. There's literally nothing else to do unless you want to use the lights from the case or from the motherboard directly. You just have to detach the cable from the controller and connect it directly to your motherboard. That's it. It kind of makes it more easier to control, because what I noticed in that software, every time I shut down the PC, it actually goes into rainbow mode. So I have to, even though I placed that the RGB control software turns on automatically when Windows starts, it goes into rainbow mode. So I have to enter and pick up the color scheme that I want, and I wanted to go with purple in this one. So yeah, the screen actually stays the same, so that doesn't change. It goes into CPU temperature, and that's it. Now let's go to the radiator mounting. So on top you can go up to 420 or up to 2360. This is interesting. On the side you can go up to 480. On the front you can go up to 420. On the bottom you can go up to 420. And at the rear you can go up to 240. Now the interesting thing is, if you go with the side, top, bottom and front, you can actually place 420 or 360. You can put on the side 480, and you can put on the front 420, and you can place on the bottom 420 and they shouldn't collide. This is the interesting part. Well, depending on the thickness of the radiator, of course, because checking it now as it is, I think there might be a possibility that everything should work. Because if you go, for instance, with the top radiator like Atmos, and you go even with 2360, you can manage that. If you go with a side, I don't think the 480 with these 360 would go, but shorter, like 420 maybe, would go definitely. Front 420 without a problem, and the bottom 420 definitely without a problem. So this is quite interesting because it gives you loads of options. So when mentioning these bottom and front panels, you can tilt them upwards, so to give you some sort of a directional airflow, or just a different mounting mechanism if it was a different vertical position for a different vertical mounting mechanism for the GPU. The same thing you can do on front. And the cool thing when placing the top radiator, if you go with 2360, is to remove the top panel, which gives you loads of options to actually manage that. Now at the back, I said we have a controller, we have 7 PWM ports and 5 addressable RGB ports, which Gen 2 support. This is really cool because it gives you option to control literally everything. Now the Master Plus 2 controller gives you loads of options. So for instance, it recognizes HAF 700 Evo, which gives you an option to adjust the screen on front with Cooler Master logo, with a system like thermals on the CPU, GPU loads on CPU, GPU, fan, RPMs, voltages and stuff like that. Then we have time option to adjust the time. After that we have multimedia, and then we have multi-display options as well as you can turn it off. Now next to that you have system info settings, addressable RGB lights and addressable RGB setup. Now we can go here for days and discuss everything, so let's continue. The modularity of this case gives you quite loads of options because you can remove the side panels, you can remove the side glass panel, bottom part can be removed, front part can be also removed. So if you decide to go with a 420 at the front, you can remove these 200 fans out, and loads of other options. So we have 8 expansion slots. When we're talking about hard drive base in combination with SSDs, you can go up to 12. 2.5-inch drive base, again 12. So basically it gives you an option to really go out in storage here. I/O panel is quite interesting because we have one USB 3.2 generation 2 type C, 4 USB 3.2 generation 1 3.0. We have one 3.5mm 4-pole audio jack and one 3.5mm microphone jack, which is quite interesting. Then we have power on and reset button. When we're talking about the fan support, at the top you can go up to 200mm, 3140 or 6120. You do have to remove the side 480 bracket. On the front you have already 200mm or 3120 or 3140. For the rear we can go up to 2120. The bottom 3120 or 3140, and on the side 4120 or 3140. Maximum CPU cooler clearance is 166mm, power supply clearance is 200mm, and the graphic card is 490, and I think that is in both positions, vertical, horizontal, it really doesn't matter, it fits without a problem. Cable routing behind the motherboard tray is 90 to 101mm, so basically you have loads of stuff. When we're talking about the accessories, you get vertical graphic card holder V3, which includes 165mm PCI Express 4.0 riser, and universal graphic card holder kit V3 as well. Now at the back we have quite cool options. The same thing we have here with the latches. You remove the middle plate and then you get the access for 4 hard drive brackets, which are also easily removable. There you have loads of space for cable rerouting, and that's outstanding because you can really do wonders. And as you can see, the only cables that are seen apart from the Atmos one, which this is one of those things that is actually, it's cool to have a HAF logo right here, but it's not cool to have no possibility to cleanly reroute the cables so they're not visible as such. It's okay, I guess, but regardless of that, what I can say with the case that is this big is that the only shame here, it doesn't support additional ITX motherboard. I know for some of you it might be really funny to, why do you need an ITX motherboard with such main? It depends. people that buy actually these type of huge cases, some of them want to have additional possibility to eventually place an ITX motherboard inside. I honestly don't see any openings here at the bottom. There could have been an option, but it's not. It's actually locked with rivets. The same thing here at the back. So yeah, there's that. You're stuck with the maximum E-ATX motherboard, and that's it. The cool thing is that you can adjust the front LCD screen to your liking. You can place really what you want. With the bars, they light up, the fans don't, but the lines on the front are, and you basically don't even need the fans to light up in that term. The cool thing is the tempered glass on the side, which covers the mounting mechanism for the radiator. If you don't go with the radiator on the side, this actually looks cool because it covers the hideous hole which some cases do have. The bottom part, shame it's designed as such. I would really actually prefer if this was removed and then you use those longer screws to attach everything, and then you get basically a cleaner access instead of this. But then when you place the tempered glass, it actually covers precisely here, which is still cool. And yeah, loads of options when we're talking about rubber grommets and openings to reroute the cables, which gives you quite nice, quite nice cable rerouting, not to mention at the back. I mean, it's so clean. Even with that much space, it still is properly manageable. And yeah, I mean, I did stuff all the cables almost in the hard drive cages, but regardless of that, if you don't go with extenders and you have some, if you go with really an insane build case or whatever, you're going to go with a nice cool custom sleeved cables, right? And since you're at that point, you can most likely go with those that go from the power supply to your components. It doesn't support back connect, that's one thing, but this isn't a new case, and when we were talking about back connect, this case was already out when back connect started, so there's that. So I wouldn't even take that into consideration as a negative, without a doubt. Now let's check the benchmarks. AIDA 64 Extreme Edition CPU is, of course, AMD Ryzen 9 7900X3D, cooled with Cooler Master Atmos 360 at the top. And AIDA 64 CPU went up to 81 degrees Celsius, clock speed was 4825 megahertz, and the CPU and GPU went up to 51. This is Sapphire Radeon RX 7700 XT Pure, and yeah, quite impressive. I do have to say, I think the majority, well, those are the only intake fans apart from this one at the bottom. So these Sickle Flow 200s are doing an incredible job. Now Cinebench. From 76, this was the first run, and then everything else was 77. Clock speed 5025, and the Cinebench scores were also quite interesting. I do have to say, 26. I started at 26,435, and then it continued everything around 26,400, which is quite solid and quite impressive. I do have to say, not only because of the front Sickle Flow, but also because of the Atmos 360. Now, since I'm mentioning Atmos 360, and I do have to mention it in this video to give you some more insights because I want to, the fans come pre-attached, which is really cool, and it kind of makes it easier to handle everything. The only thing that it's not that I don't like, but if you're going with a smaller case, I would rather prefer the fans being oriented so the cables come from this side and the tubes come from that side. Because in that scenario, if you go with a smaller case that you can see the tubes are a bit bent right here, you won't have so much space for the rear fan. But regardless of that, the mounting mechanism is quite straightforward. You use your AMD locking nuts. You do have to remove those retention brackets that originally come with AMD. Use those locking nuts, place them on the motherboard, place 2 retention brackets on the CPU cooler, and use 4 screws, 2 on each, to attach those. After that, you just put the paste on those hexagons, remove the sticker from the bottom cold plate, and attach it. 4 locking nuts, that's it. Connect the cables, you're good to go. You do get a controller inside, and you can use it to basically control everything. But since this case already has a controller, I decided not to use it. It's totally irrelevant in those terms because you already have literally everything inside this case. The cool thing, and I really like the display, and it's really impressive, I do have to admit, can't wait if that happens for Cooler Master to implement that type of screen on other devices inside their portfolio, because it really does work quite nicely. It looks quite impressive as well, and altogether I think this is it is a gigantic case. I do have to admit, it's almost bigger. It's somewhere similar to my InWin 925, right? But I can say that this case has so much space, much more than the InWin 925. I'm not saying anything against it. I chose 925 to be my main workstation, but building inside this compared to that, this is a piece of cake. Believe me, this is a piece of cake when we're talking about almost everything. I can only imagine how it is to build a custom loop inside this, because of the space, because of the mounting mechanism, because of the easy access to place and mount your radiators. There's literally nothing that obstructs you from working flawlessly, I would say. This build was basically done quickly. I just wanted to record some B-roll in the meantime, record the Atmos and stuff like that, so it kind of took me a bit longer. But if I was building it straight from scratch without any recordings on the side, without even thinking about anything, just plain building, this would be done in half an hour without a problem. So literally everything. Outstanding case, love it, love the design. It is a bit of on an aggressive side, but if we remember the past Cooler Master cases that they did and they produced, like I think it was Stormtrooper, it kind of goes back to that roots. It was a long time ago, and I do remember those cases, but it is something different. It is something that will give you performance in terms of no obstruction when we're talking about airflow. If you're using the SickleFlow 200, remove the front that bracket just to, you know, I don't know, it won't obstruct anything. Hey, no, just in case, why would you have something additionally inside the case if you can clear up the space and just make it look nice? I don't know else what to say, to be honest. There's so much more to talk about, and I know I'm already so long into this video, and yeah, crocodile clips are attaching the front panel, and this is how you'll be able to remove it. So just in case, you need to push those two sides to get the access to remove it. And the side filter, here we go, the bottom dust filter is quite easily removable. That's it. That's all there is to it. I mean, I don't know else what to say. We can only discuss the configuration possibilities and all the other stuff that you might find interesting in terms of, oh, I'm going to build in HAF 700 EVO, what should I do? Where should I place the radiator? To be honest, place it anywhere you desire, unless you decide to remove SickleFlow 200s on front. I wouldn't place it on front. I would place it either on the side, but then again, I'm losing that cool tempered glass that really does look quite nice, so I would definitely place it like I did right here and reroute the cables at the back. That's it, guys. I know it's a bit longer video, and well, lately you've been getting longer videos without a doubt, but there's so much information that I wanted to share with you regarding these cases, and I know I didn't cover everything. So if you have some questions, please write them down in the comments, and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible and correctly as possible to give you more viable information that I couldn't cover in I don't know, 20-30 minutes video. So yeah, there's that. Guys, if you liked everything that you saw, or if you liked the video build or whatever, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell, because it really does actually mean a lot to me. And that would be all for today. See you very soon, guys, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.